Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Rockies Daily. I'm Scott Ayers, where we talk all things Colorado Rockies. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, share with your mother, your father, your brothers, and your sisters as we continue to grow this thing out. And to start things off, we're talking about Munetaka Murakami and how the Colorado Rockies missed out on these potential sweepstakes as Murakami has signed with the Chicago White Sox, 2-year, $34 million deal. And I think this is a big whiff by the Rockies. I think that Colorado had the opportunity to sign him to a smaller contract for the potential that he had to play first base. Murakami's going to most likely play first for the Chicago White Sox. And it just felt like an opportunity for the Rockies to strike big with a low-risk opportunity, right? A lot of these other big players, you will have to spend a lot of money, right? We've talked about Bo Bichette before. The Rockies realistically want to go after Bo Bichette. They would have to spend a lot of money. Murakami, he's a bit more of an unknown, and there are obviously concerns about his strikeout rate. But the guy was also drawing comparisons to Kyle Schwarber and has unlimited power that would have been great for a lineup that was one of the worst in baseball when it came to power. And so it just feels disappointing. And I'm sure we'll wait to see if there's more reports that maybe the Rockies did make an offer and it just wasn't as good, right? And if that's the case, then I take some of this back because it's, hey, at least we're trying. But just knowing this organization, I know we have a new front office and everything, but knowing this organization, they haven't necessarily gone after these kind of things before. That's not true. I guess the Rockies did go after Ian Desmond, and then they did go after Chris Bryant. So maybe that's reasons for concern, but they're also just completely different situations because those two contracts were massive in Ian Desmond and Chris Bryant. 2-year, $34 million. That's really not going to be a detriment to the payroll. Even if he's bad, even if he's like a 150 hitter and he can't keep up with meatballs, it'd be like, man, it stinks for paying this guy $17 million a year. But it's also not the end of the world because it's a short contract. A 2-year contract is really nothing. And it could have given the Rockies an opportunity to maybe to get a bit of a steal, in my opinion. Especially because this is a guy where at first we were hearing contracts that were up to $100 million for him. So to get him to a 2-year, $34 million deal, I don't think is crazy. I think that's a good move by the White Sox. It's a bummer that the Rockies missed out on someone like that. That, again, we're talking about potential because we haven't seen him play in the major leagues. But you might as well take a chance at someone like that. But instead, we got our big signing, Brett Sullivan, baby. Nuh-uh, we don't want that power. No, we don't want Murakami's power. So we want Brett Sullivan, who had 6 at-bats at the major league level last year. That is what we want in Colorado. And I will say, like to give it a little bit of a reprieve, right? If Sullivan can get called up and can be decent in AAA, he could be a nice backup to Hunter Goodman. He could be a nice locker room presence, and he could be someone that the Rockies just have as a veteran leader. I think it's just hard when the free agent signings have all been guys that are like, meh. Like, that's how I feel. Oh, the Rockies, they just signed Nicky Lopez. Okay. John Brebbia. Is this 2022? Okay, great. It's fine. Like, I don't think it's an awful signing because, again, I think it's a non-guarantee, so it's not. There's a chance that he's not even on the roster. I think it's just like a spring training contract, so he'll get just opportunity to try to prove himself. But I think it's just hard when there's all these different things going on where you see some of these other teams making moves. Like the Chicago White Sox are AL Rockies, right? I mean, that is a team, though, that is starting to build, and maybe the Rockies can look after that for down the road. I think the timeline's a little different. It's probably a few years away, but it's just nice to get guys under contract that can start helping make a difference. And that kind of goes into the perfect wish list, the gift list, the perfect gifts for the Colorado Rockies. We're in the holiday season, and depending on what you celebrate, this is the perfect time to talk about getting some sort of gifts. And I think there's two things that make the most sense for the Rockies when it comes to that beautiful package that you just can't wait to unwrap. The first would be trading for starting pitching. I say trade. I just don't see a world where the Rockies will be able to go after a guy like Zach Gallen and he signs a big old contract to come pitch at Coors Field, where his pitches aren't gonna move as much as they will in any other ballpark. So the Rockies will have to most likely trade for solid pitching. In the past, they've obviously just done it through their system, but a trade is most likely. So that would be gift number one. And there's someone like Edward Cabrera from the Marlins, who the Marlins have shown that are actively shopping their starting pitcher. You could get him and preferably, obviously, have a pitcher that's going to be under contract for 3 to 4 years, just as you continue to build things out. That, I think, is option number one, and a good gift for the Colorado Rockies of just, hey, we just traded for some starting pitching that will make an immediate impact on the team. Because right now that starting rotation is the worst in baseball, and even starting for a guy that would automatically become your number one, your ace, is definitely something that I think would make a lot of Rockies fans happy. Now, if you made a trade for someone like Edward Cabrera, that's where it gets a little tricky, because that means you're most likely dealing Britton Doyle, you're probably dealing a prospect. So I get it. If that doesn't interest you, I get it. You don't want to make a trade because of the window that the Rockies are in right now. But at a certain point, it would just be nice to have solid pitching again, which can be really hard to come by at Coors Field. The second gift that we're just, we're looking under a tree and it's just got a bow on it. And speaking of bow, Bo Bichette would be a pretty darn perfect gift for the Colorado Rockies. It would be unlimited power. He's telling us he'd play second base, which would just be, come on. Bo Bichette and Tovar, they're underneath your Christmas tree, playing in the infield for the Colorado Rockies. Tell me that's not a gift we don't all dream of. Now, he would be a much more expensive player, so the reservation there is mom and dad don't want to get that kind of gift for you because it's so darn expensive. And we've got Bo Bichette at home, and it's a guy who's batting 190, but that could be a realistic thing as well. The Rockies aren't willing to spend. I mentioned Bo Bichette, obviously any big name infielder or second that can play second or third or first, or also can preferably pitch, right? That's where we're at as Rockies fans. But that's what we want to see. We've talked about the young guys in the infield. I think it's fun to just see that this team is going to be so young, but it would also be nice to just have a little bit more established presence in the lineup with much needed power and just a much needed bat. And so I zero on Bo Bichette just because he's, one of the biggest free agents still out there. He doesn't relatively have much noise around him right now. That could obviously change with Murakami signing. Maybe that's a snowball effect. We could see what happens with Alex Bregman because there's now rumors he goes to Toronto. We'll see. But come on. Bo Bichette would be awesome. He'd be awesome to have under your tree with a bow on him and a 280 average with, a 500 slug and an 800 OPS. I'm just dreaming. Can a Rockies fan dream? That's what I'm doing. And it leads us into our last segment. Have the Colorado Rockies, have they passed the eye test of this offseason so far? And I would give their grade a resounding C. Just a big old red C on that piece of paper. And if you look down that paper, you'd probably see front office moves. A-. Oh, that's actually pretty nice. New hires of batting coaching, pitching, everything. Oh, it's all relatively pretty good. You get down to free agent signings, and that's where it's like a D. And mainly because of just the inactivity and the 3 guys they signed, we might not ever see at the major league level. There's a chance you will, though, just because of all the holes on this team. But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily good signings. It just means we didn't have anyone else. And so here's Nicky Lopez, who he definitely hit under 200 last year. Here's Nicky Lopez, and he's going to be starting second base next year. That just wouldn't really inspire a lot of Rockies fans that, if we're getting... Now, I could say this and totally eat crow, and Nicky Lopez bat, 265 and is being productive at the plate. I could totally eat crow on that. He just has not been good for the last couple of seasons. And so, I get it. You just need bodies. But the free agent signings, we've hit it on the head over and over and over again. I get maybe wanting to wait and see what you have, but we know what we have. So I would give this a resounding C. I love the front office moves. I love that we've gotten guys from just many different organizations, taken from the Dodgers and the Mets, and I like that a lot. I just want to see some activity when it comes to free agency. But until then, this is another episode of Rockies Daily. I'm Scott Ayers. I hope you liked the video. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Share with your friends, please. We're continuing to try to grow this thing out. But until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.